Welcome, folks. This is Tom O'Brien of TFNN. We go 5 days a week. We go 9 hours a day. We go 24 hours a day on the internet at TFNN.com. Always remember, folks, whatever you think about, you bring about. Whatever you focus on grows. Hope everyone had a great day, safe day. It's a TGIF, folks. Let's make it a great one. Let's take a look at one of our 4 agreements. To begin a great relationship, know what you want. Know what the needs of your body are, what the needs of your mind are, and what fits well with you. There are millions of men and women, and some of them will make a good match for you and others won't. The two of you only need to be fit like a what? Like a key in a lock. A match that works. Market-wise, let's take a look at it out here. We had the Dow Industrials up 70, NASDAQ up 19, S&P's up 4. Gold contract down $12.30, trading at $1,657 an ounce. Silver down 53 cents at $31.19 an ounce. Platinum up $12 at $1,695 an ounce. Copper down 2 pennies, trading out at $3.65 a pound. Light sweet crude flat at $96 and 1 penny a barrel. Bonds down almost 2 points at 144.05. King dollar down 197 at 79.81. Euro up 80, trading out at 134.57. And the yen up 62, getting weaker once again at 90.94. Our phone number is 877-927-6648. Give us a call, folks. Want to know what's going on in your world? In the world of the S&Ps, let's take a look at them. What do you have? You had 1,500 S&P. You did volume out there, 657 versus 678. Bottom line is that what you have here on this cash S&P, we'll put this on a weekly basis since we're on the week. You're over the highs. That's saying, hey, it can go higher. You know, it doesn't have the juice, but bottom line, when you're over the highs, it says it can go higher. Dow Industrials, we have with the Dow, went up 70 bucks today. No juice behind the move. That's on the daily. On the weekly, same setup on the weekly. You know, you're away from this high. The last high, I mean the September high, quite a bit too. 13,653 was that high. We're at 13,895. We take the Dow back and we take a look at it. What you have out here is that the high that was generated in 2007, folks, is game, which is 14,198. That's not that far away, 300 points away. NASDAQ, different animal in the NASDAQ. Now, what we have with the NASDAQ composite is this. She's still weakest indice out there, up 19 bucks today on the daily. Did 1.8 billion versus the 2 billion on the way down yesterday. That is on the daily. And what you have on the weekly right now is that we did close over last week's high by 4 points. That's saying, hey, this week's intraday high, which is 3161, can get tested. Now, let's go on into good old Apple. I want to show you something at the close here, folks. When you talk about dumping a stock, okay, it's pretty amazing what happened out here. Now, you know, because I've been basically day trading for so long, what I always do is that I have the futures up on one side, all over Apple. Why? Because the weighting structure is so big. But if you happen to be watching Tiger TV, I'm going to show you something that happened at the close. If you're listening on the air, I'm going to explain what happened. So first I'm going to go over to the NQs, NQH3. And I'll show you where we got this from. Well, I'll explain exactly what this trade was. I'm speculating, but we used to do many of these trades in the early 90s. So when we pull up the NDX futures, what you're going to see is you're going to see a huge push up at 10 minutes of 4. The NDX futures went from, it's not huge, but it's big enough for what this trade was about. The NDX futures went from 27.27 to 27.32. So they basically got it up, and then they got it to 27.33.25. So that doesn't seem like a lot, but let me show you what they were doing simultaneously. So what you had, and this is a big operator, folks, because what happened is that the spike came out of nowhere. It was 13,000 contracts that went into the NQs. Well, what happens in the NQs, immediately when you go into the NQs, what that does is that, you know, I talk about this a lot. What does happen? They have to turn around and they have to buy Apple ASAP. Just machines going. Let me show you what they did simultaneously. Simultaneously, they were unloading Apple and they were trying to get out so bad it was amazing. So what they did with Apple is this. They hit the NQs, pushed the NQs up basically 5 points. Then simultaneously, they let loose on Apple. and this trade was a monster. It was 3 million shares that they were selling down on Apple, and what they did is this. Apple closed at 439. It went as low as 435, and what that was, unfortunately, is that all people that are sitting underneath there with buy orders thinking that Apple's cheap right now. So when they were getting rid of those 3 million shares, what ended up happening is that the price of the takeout on the other side was 9 points. Okay? So what that means is that they threw in 3 million shares. It just kept going down, down, but there were people down there, buy. What they had done first, pushed their futures up. Nice trade. They're out. That's the bottom line. Well, you could take a look at Apple. Bottom line, Apple is getting, you know, we talked about a straight line move. Apple's going to be a straight line move, folks. A to B equals C to D is a straight line move. We just put it up on the a weekly basis, and what you're going to see is this. We did 141 million shares, taking out whatever B point you want, 170, 127 million, 119 million. And you got to remember something. An A to B equals C to D that's a 1-to-1. We can go to a 1-to-1.382, a 1-to-150, a 1-to-1.618. Bottom line is that Apple's on its way downtown in a huge way, not in a small way. We're talking about next stop is 369. We'll take a look, which 369, by the way, now is not that far away either. We're at 439 right now. And, you know, that's where basically, yeah, can it stall there for a few days? Yeah, it can. But Apple's got some big troubles ahead of it. I wanted to bring that trade up because that trade, a trade like that is always cool seeing. What used to happen, folks, and the reason I'm so familiar with the trade like that is in the OEX in the 90s, what you had is this, is that you had Dell, you had Microsoft, you had Intel, Oracle, Sun Micro. Those stocks there inside the S&P 100, the OEX, were a huge part of the weighting structure. And when you trade the OEX was it still is a cash vehicle, but would expire on a Friday afternoon. What you would see is you'd see a huge amount of traders going into those 5 stocks in order to push that OEX up 1 point or 2 points, because 1 point or 2 point on the OEX was just monster money. Okay, now let's go over to the gold market. What we had with gold out here today is this. Gold comes down 148,000 contracts, which is not the end of the world, which is pretty sweet actually. Okay, so this is what you have. We're at 1658. We're into the last 1664 high that was generated on the 4th of January. So that does say that, hey, you know, you're going to go down, you're going to go test this 1626 area. Bonds, let's go over here and see what kind of volume we got, because what bonds have done is that they're right into the last spike. And you talk about wide price spread today, had wide price spread, had volume behind the move too. You had 486,000 contracts. You're going into 512, so that's big numbers, folks. That's saying that bonds will go after that 143.17. That was the low out there. You know, as you come into those lows, you want to see bonds contract versus go up, if you think bonds are going to go up. That's how that shakes out. If we go look at the TLT, we'll take a look at the TLT. The TLT now, folks, is the iShares ETF structure for bonds. What we did out here today, you did 8.6 million shares. You're going into 9.7. You're going into 10 million. If we put this on that's on the daily. If we put this on the weekly, what you have is this. On the weekly, you're coming into it with 19 million versus 33. So that's pretty interesting, because this is what you have. 19 versus 33, that's really light volume. But this will go tag that bottom. That bottom is 117.36. We go over and we take a look at some of the high volume stocks in a low volume market. Well, first off, let's take a look. Let's go to Microsoft, because see, what you had inside the NDX 100 today was Microsoft basically putting some pressure on it. Microsoft ended up being up 25 cents, but Microsoft is a large component of the NDX 100. We look at this on a weekly basis, and what you have on a weekly basis with Microsoft is that she pushed higher with 292 million versus 383. So Microsoft's going to need a lot more juice in order to get to higher price. We go take a look at the dollar index. What do we have with the dollar out here? DXH. Come on, baby. Here we go. Okay, so dollar index, what we did with the dollar index, she pulled back with 27,000 contracts. Now, that's still building cause for higher price. Bottom line, that's not a lot of volume. She was pulling into 38,000, and we only did 27,000. It's Tom O'Brien, this is TFNN. You stay right there, folks. We're coming back with our technology expert at TFNN, our man, Mr. David White. We're going to be right back.